This is the Life's Better podcast where we talk about how life is so much better with God, community, and purpose. And today, Josh and I are going to be talking about the number one inspirational quality of a leader. And if you're wondering why are we doing that? Well, it's because every single one of us have leadership influence in people's lives. You might be a husband, you might be a pastor, you might be a life group participant, not even the facilitator, but based on what you share and the insights that you give, you're leading the conversation. We all have leadership capacity. And so just like we are inspired by, good leaders, we want to be inspirational leaders in the areas that we are leading. And so several years ago, Bain Research looked into what are the most inspirational qualities of a leader. And they actually came up with this long list of 33 qualities. They've also narrowed it down to like one that just consistently came to the surface time and time again.
Money.
If you have money, that's what really drives people. So no, it wasn't money, but we are going to share what this number one inspirational quality is with you, but we're going to do it in a moment. First, we're going to play a game called Inspirational Moments in History.
Okay.
So my wonderful wife has prepared a list, or at least a piece of paper with 10 inspirational moments in history on there. And what we're going to do is take turns grabbing one of these inspirational moments and trying to get each other to guess what that is.
Okay.
Here's the catch, though.
Okay.
You can only use 3 words to try to get them to guess what it is.
Okay.
And on top of that,
love that.
Like you can't use one of the words that's in it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
All right. Do you want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to let you hold this. And
Sure.
You're going to go next.
Yes. Sounds good.
All right. Okay. All right. I've got this. Let's go with how good are you at dates?
Oh.
Not so good. I think
Very specific one's not good, but like I can.
Okay.
Just go for it.
I think you'll get it. Lunar.
Okay.
1969.
Okay.
United States.
Yeah. This has to be the moon landing.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Moon landing.
Yeah.
It is.
Lunar was a great clue.
yeah. That's true. But I didn't shoot. It was just moon landing.
Man,
All it said was moon landing.
I knew it was around then, but I didn't realize that it was in the 60s when they did that.
If I'm wrong on the 1969, you guys can put a comment.
You're probably right.
I think
Who
I'm
knows?
right. I think I'm right.
Ooh. Okay. Gorbachev tear down.
Oh, okay. This has to be Berlin Wall being torn down. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that is 1989.
Oh wow, I'm really good with
Well,
dates.
I'm a history guy. So
It's the
dates.
fall of the Berlin Wall. Though.
Yeah, and I was 9 years old, so like I kind of remember that was a pretty big deal. Yeah.
I just felt good about remembering. Is it Gorbachev or Gorbachev?
Yeah. That was Reagan saying Gorbachev tear down this wall.
Yeah.
And then Hasselhoff was out on the wall in like this weird light up like jacket singing. It was like, what is happening? Like, this is okay. Anyway, those who are old are like, yeah, no, I remember. All
I was
that.
not born yet.
Okay. I don't know. Make the rest of us feel bad. Oh, this one will be super easy. Well, I say that, we'll find out. July 4th, 1776.
Oh, that's. Well, hold on. What technically happened that day? That was the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. American Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, because
yes.
we weren't, in our minds, we were independent. But at the time, we were still under British rule. But that was when we were like,
we're done with you.
We're done with you.
Yeah.
We're going to, and then they declared war on us. And,
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I was about to say that was when we officially, were free of British rule. But wasn't.
I'm glad you dialed back.
I was like, whoa, actually, hold on. All right. Oh. Baseball.
Okay.
Your team.
Oh. And inspirational moments from the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for. Okay. There's been several in my life.
No, I should have been more specific. Oh no.
The only thing the only thing that really I'm capturing, yeah, well, I mean, it could even be Bonds' like 73rd, breaking McGuire's. Okay, if I'm getting to know, I'm gonna have to go with World Series 2010 when we finally broke the like streak of like not winning World Series for like I don't know 50 some years.
This was 56-year drought.
Was it 50? I knew it was
Yeah.
50 something. I can't remember exactly.
I didn't know that there were so many San Francisco Giants
Inspirational moments. Well, I would also include like when we won it again in 2 years, and then again 2 years after that. Like
Pretty big.
That was pretty big. But
I'm just not a baseball guy, so I don't know a whole lot of those moments. I'm not trying to insult your team at all. It's just
it's all right.
I don't really follow it.
It's hard when Kentucky doesn't have a.
We have the Reds, kind of, but
close
like,
enough. But that's as close as we can get.
Yeah, it's just way too many games.
Yeah.
Way too many games.
I agree. Too
many games.
And if we're just going to kind of riff a little bit, I want baseball to go to a 7-inning like play. 9 is just too much.
Yeah. And I think limit the amount of games to like 1 home, 1 away for every team.
Yeah. No, I think
make them exciting. Make the games exciting.
That's what football has done. I think they've done a good job. Okay. Okay. 3 words. Okay. Miracle on Ice.
Oh, okay. So I don't know a whole lot of like the dates behind this. I just know I've seen the movie.
Yeah,
right, and it's the movie Miracle.
Yes.
And the United States beats Russia in. Is it the Winter Olympics?
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, okay.
It says the 1980 U.S. hockey team beats Russia
by like, and we were a long shot by like a
long
mile.
Shot.
Weren't even like close to number 2 in the world.
It was such an inspirational moment that they made a movie about it.
Yeah, and it's a great movie.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Disney like true life.
Yeah.
Movies that
Who's the main actor in that? Do you know? The Dirty Dancing fame? No, that's not.
He married Goldie Hawn. I forget his name, but
Crap.
Yeah,
he's in Roadhouse. That's
the
right actor, right?
No, that's Patrick Swayze. This is a different guy.
He has like a Patrick Swayze like.
He kind of has that vibe.
I don't know. All right. Well, anyway. Oh, okay.
So far, we're like 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
we might have to go to 2 words pretty soon.
Oh man, we could. Do you want to do that right now?
Not really.
I'm gonna say African American leader.
Okay, my mind.
Oh crap! There's way too many.
My mind immediately goes to Martin Luther King Jr. Inspirational moment. Is it the "I Have a Dream" speech?
I went way too vague.
Darn.
It's the Barack Obama becomes first black president.
Okay.
I said leader instead of president. I should have been more specific.
That is good.
Maybe commander. I don't know like how to say president. Inauguration. That's what I should have said.
Inauguration.
That would have got you there.
That would have been it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is interesting. I actually am going to be using an illustration in my sermon about this on Sunday. How to get you to guess it though? So I know the date. The date will mean nothing to you, and the only reason I know the date is because
you looked it up. You just looked it up. Yeah.
Okay. Suffragette. U.S. That's still. I got 2 words.
Okay.
I got 1 more, and ballot.
Oh, is this when women earned the right to vote in the United States?
Women given the right to vote.
Yeah,
yes, good, man. That was great.
What day is that?
1919. I don't know the day.
See that it took us
over 100 years. I mean, or at least like it was over 100 years ago. I mean, like it's just crazy. Yeah.
Oh,
I almost peaked.
Easy one. But how do I get you there? We'll say victory in Europe.
Oh man, I would think World War II, but it might be World War I. But inspirational. It's got to be World War II.
Yeah.
Is it like V-Day, Victory Day?
Yeah, I was thinking Victory in Europe Day,
Yeah.
which is VE Day. You're right.
Which was 1945. I can't tell you the actual month and day though.
That was the technical end of World War II, right? Because Japan fell first, and then, like when Germany fell, that was the end.
So
Or no,
the opposite. So
It was
Germany
the
fell
victory.
first, and then Japan later.
yeah, and it was because of
And it,
the bomb.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the last one. Okay. I don't want to spoil. I want to earn this one. What did you say? Black leader.
Mhm.
Um, I should have done what you did. Can't use this word. Declaration.
Oh, is it the I Have a Dream speech?
Yes.
Funny.
It is. Martin Luther's I Have a Dream speech.
Yeah.
And I couldn't say speech, and I was really
Yeah.
struggling. Declaration is what I came up with. But
This
I
was
probably
given in
Washington,
yeah
D.C.
Washington
I
D.C.
could not tell you the date. I'm pretty sure it was the 1960s, but
It was
honestly, I don't
60s.
know.
Because it happened like right before they, like in the civil rights movement was in
Yeah.
the 60s. So.
And that's what I probably should have said. I probably should have civil rights,
Mm.
and then declaration. I don't know. Maybe not. Okay. Well, hey. No. You missed one.
I messed up with the Barack Obama one.
That was still pretty good. All right, so those are all really inspirational moments in history, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're going to be talking about the number one inspirational quality
Mhm.
of a leader. And again, according to Bain Research, I mean, they went through 33 of these great qualities that everyone is drawn to, attracted to, but one continued to rise to the surface. What is that number one inspirational characteristic of a leader? It's a centered leader. The one thing that more people are looking for in their leadership more than anything else is someone who is centered, which honestly, I think most people are listening to this and they're either yawning or they're scratching their head thinking, well, what in the world does that
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
What does it mean to be a centered leader? Josh, have you ever heard anyone ever say, finally, we have a centered leader?
No.
No. So what is a centered leader? I'll give you one person's definition. I thought it was really great. A centered leader is one who is guided by values, driven by purpose, and obsessed with mission.
Mm.
They are grounded, aware, secure. They are consistent. A centered leader inspires with their inner calm, sense of direction, and confident resolve.
Yeah. Couple of those keywords there I immediately came to mind. So
Yeah, and even when I read that, it's absolutely, I would have no problem following someone who was a centered leader. And so what we're going to do is, at least today, we're going to look at the opposite side of that. We're going to look at what an uncentered leader is, and hopefully in a later episode, maybe next month, maybe we'll have to wait a little bit. We'll look at what are some of the qualities of a centered leader that we can step into. But this is more of a self-evaluation. Hey, am I an uncentered leader? Because what are the stakes? Well, if you're an uncentered leader, ultimately that's going to lead to unsettled followers.
yeah.
And we don't want to do that. And we've probably been there. I mean, have you ever been in one of those moments where like you wanted to, like your initial reaction was like, yeah, I want to be a part of this. I want to be able to trust this individual. I want to be able, but then there was just something in you that was a little unsettled, like,
Yeah.
And so we don't want that. We don't want that for the people that we're leading. And so we need to evaluate, are we actually projecting maybe an uncenteredness that is causing our leadership to fall short? So we're going to look at 3 qualities of an uncentered leader. Just do a self-evaluation. Say, hey, am I
Any of these things.
Am I
Yeah.
in any of these things? Yeah. So you may be an uncentered leader if you are annoyingly insecure. First quality of an uncentered leader is someone who is annoyingly insecure. And this is the person who's leading with a, hey, I'm a good leader, right? Hey, did you like that decision that I made? Hey, tell me again that these are individuals who, well, they are oftentimes needy. They tend to not want to deal with conflict. and oftentimes they lack direction.
Mm.
Now, that's one side of an annoyingly insecure leader. And then we've all probably experienced the opposite to that, which is they're an insecure leader, but instead of being timid, they posture up and they're arrogant.
Mm.
And maybe they even bully, they micromanage, they blame other people for mistakes that might actually be ultimately on their shoulders.
Yeah.
They
Can't
take
hear any type of like criticism
it
at all.
just
Well,
it hurts too much.
Mhm.
It's not you, or excuse me, it's not me. It's actually you. That's a another version of an insecure leader. So I want you to evaluate at least that first part
Mhm.
of the hey, am I doing okay?
Mhm.
Have you experienced having to follow an insecure leader like that, or if you wanted to, I mean, if you wanted to be secure enough, have you ever found yourself,
Yeah.
in one of those positions leading from a place of insecurity like that?
Yeah, honestly, like I've had some really good, in terms of this quality, secure leaders
Good.
in my life. But that is one, especially when I first started here, that I
Mhm.
kind of fell into. And just to be honest, like after a lesson or after really anything, like I was going to not only other leaders that like were under me, but also some students and asking like, hey, like, was that okay? Was like just constantly trying to get not necessarily feedback, but I just wanted to hear that I'm doing well, right?
Mhm.
And that's not necessarily like like you might think, oh, that's not a horrible thing. Like he was brand new, of course he wanted to hear those things, but I realized quickly that I was putting, and looking back on it now, like hindsight's 2020, I was, instead of being a guide for some of them, I was trying to make them be my guide, right? Like I immediately coming off the stage, like hopefully my leaders are paying attention and learning how to teach from me. But instead, I was asking them, "Hey, what do you think?" Like them trying to get them to be that guide for me when I'm supposed to be their guide. So I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. I'm curious. So, would you say that the fallout of having maybe some insecurity and leading with that insecurity was that there was a lack of confidence maybe in
Mhm.
you, or I don't know, what would you say the number one
Like issue that
issue
comes
that
from
came
that.
as a result?
I think I put people into positions that I should have been,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Instead
Like
of putting the burden on them, that should have been a burden that you took up.
yeah, it will, like, to be completely honest, like all of those people, like I get paid to lead
Mm.
them. And I was trying to make them lead me.
Yeah.
And that's not, that when you get asked to do a volunteer position, like the hope is that over time I kind of give you more responsibility. Like I give you, like I teach you how to do what I do. But I was trying to get them to
Yeah.
teach me how to do what I was already supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And like no volunteer should come expecting to learn and then be told, hey, you get to tell me exactly how I'm doing and how to,
Yeah.
because I probably would have listened to anything they said and changed it for next week.
Mm.
They could have said, oh, your lesson needs to be like half as short or half the length, and I would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. And that's, it'd be like Donald Trump inviting Jonathan in the office and being like, what do you think of what I'm doing? And then
Yeah.
Jonathan having all the say.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, you're elected to lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And it creates maybe that, hey, do we have a clear direction here? Can I trust Josh with this clear
100%.
direction? It doesn't seem like he's relying on me as
Exactly.
opposed to him. Yeah. On the other side of the insecure leader, I'll share my experience with that because I've had particularly one insecure leader who would do the arrogant, the bullying, the hey, I'm going to blame it on you. I'm going to micromanage. This was one of the times. There were several times that it was pretty glaring, but one of the times that was really glaring is we were not doing well as an organization. In fact, numbers were dropping off, and so I'll give him credit. Like he had the security enough to go ahead and hire an outside consultant to come in and to kind of shake things up and say, hey, show us what we can't see, right? One of the things that the consultant did though was met individually with all the staff members, and there's about 7 staff members, and had a series of questions for us. And I guess during some of these interviews, the staff were saying, hey, just be careful, like we're not just the problem here.
Mm.
We've got a leader who may actually have some problems too, but won't admit it, right? And so the consultant comes back to our leader and says, "You've got some misalignment in your staff. And for me to do anything of benefit, like you've got to gain alignment with your staff before I can come in and help." So the way that he gained alignment was he had us all come in individually into his office and asked each of us, do we have 100% confidence in his leadership ability, and are we 100% on board with the direction that he's taking it? And so
that's intimidating.
Yeah, and
holy cow!
And it all came down. It had this tone of, because if you don't, like you're potentially out of here. So it's like, all right, well, I didn't see this coming. So my answer was really evasive, like, I didn't see it coming. So my answer was like, well, I don't know if I've ever had 100% confidence, because we all have room to grow. And, I just kind of like sugarcoated it as best I can. And then it was like, and even when it comes to the direction that we're going, that's why we have the outside consultant, because we don't really know. But, it was just kind of a vague, and I realized it was vague because I didn't want to say, no, I don't have 100%, and I don't buy in 100%, because this is why we're struggling. And he didn't like that answer, and it was like, hey, you're just trying to avoid it. And so I pulled back, and I thought I would be helpful and say, hey, I get it. I think some things were probably said and it hurt a little bit. And so you're trying to circle the wagons in order to protect yourself. I get that. And immediately I realized that was the wrong thing to say. And he said, I do not appreciate you psychoanalyzing me, especially when you don't have a degree in psychology to do so. And everything in me wanted to say, listen, I don't have to have a degree in psychology to see that you are an insecure leader. The entire staff knows that you are leading from a place of insecurity. Now, I did not say that. I bit my tongue. But what ended up happening is what typically ends up happening when someone is leading from a place of insecurity. It's developed in me a lack of commitment. And when you're, an insecure leader, that's oftentimes what it will build. Or at the very least, insecure leaders will develop insecure followers. And that certainly was the case for me. All right, so think through that. Maybe you can evaluate where are you leading. The second way that you might be an uncentered leader is you are consistently unpredictable. You're consistently unpredictable. So the only thing that people under your leadership can be prepared for is that your direction will change quickly, right? It's the father who says, this is the direction we're taking the family for a solid week. And then the next week it's we're going to go in this direction, or he completely forgets about the commitment of last week. Or it's the manager who changes the strategy like you change your socks. I don't know if you've had these individuals in ministry where they're passionate, so passionate about this, and then they become so passionate about that, and so passionate about this. And it seems like, they're like a middle schooler who's passionate about a new crush every other week. These are the individuals who, they may build you up one moment and then they're criticizing you the next. They're giving you all kinds of freedom one week and then they're taking that freedom away the next. They're consistently unpredictable. One might actually say that we have a president who leads as a very consistent, unpredictable. I'm not going to say
consistently inconsistent.
Like someone might say that, but not this guy. I'm curious, in your life, have you seen or have you been led by someone who is consistently unpredictable?
Yeah, I've had a few, and this is like one where you can see the heart, right? Like, or I don't know. I try to see the good in the person, like trying their best, but like, it's just it kind of goes back to what I was sharing about, like, the people, if they told me something, I would want to change. And so I've had some leaders where, like, if you sat down with them and gave them a good case for something, like, they're on board. They're gonna change it. But then 2 days from now, they could have a meeting with somebody else, and then they change it again. Right. I had one of my first bosses ever was actually one of the times I worked with Emily as well, and like, she would just change the hours for people based off of whoever came to her last to explain that they needed the and like, then she would just call you up and be like, sorry, you got to go and then I was like, well, hold on, like, I have this,
right, like,
I told you about this,
right.
Like, and she's like, I'm sorry. Or she'll hear you out and be like, oh, okay, and then change it again on the person who's in front of her, and it was just like, there was one time where she was like, I want to give you guys enough hours, like all these things, like the organization we're working for has plenty of money, it's fine. And then like 2 days later, like after us being excited, like, hey, we got all these extra hours, being like, getting a call saying, actually, you can only work so many because there's an allotment that we can only make. Like, it was just like
consistently unpredictable,
like
right?
just like we're in a car and constantly changing lanes, and it was just there, and it led to, and I've had this issue too, where like you just get excited about different things, but you make promises that you forget, right? And in that situation, like there was just so many like huge red flags constantly being waved all the time. That was just like, this is not good.
That's definitely an indication of someone who's not centered, right? They're uncentered, and it's creating all kinds of unpredictableness. I know for me, I haven't had a whole lot who consistently lead from the unpredictable, but I've had plenty who they'll go off and they'll be a part of a conference and they'll get inspired about it and they come back, new strategy, right? And it's like, okay, cool. No, that sounds awesome.
Like a camp high.
Yes. I read a book and this book is amazing. We're going to head in this direction. I just listened to this podcast and we're going this direction. And for me, I'm not a huge fan of like crazy change anyway, but I never had a problem with, some sort of inspirational, that does sound good. We probably should be doing that. But over time, you never knew how much energy you should put into it.
Yeah.
Because in just a few weeks, the energy completely shifts in this direction, but you already put so much time and energy here. And it's like, okay, so how long is this one going to last?
Yeah.
How long are we going to be on this, in this direction? And so what ends up happening with an unpredictable leader, it produces hesitant followers. And that's exactly where I found myself. It was like, well, I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to jump in with 2 feet here because I don't know which direction it's going to come next. I've got some great ideas. You may say yes to them, but then you may say yes to somebody else and immediately go in a different direction. That's what oftentimes what happens when we're not centered. Number 3, you may be an uncentered leader if you are self-absorbed. If you're self-absorbed. Josh, I assume you identify yourself as a self-absorbed leader.
100%. That is me.
That's the tricky one with being a self-absorbed leader. If you're really self-absorbed, you're probably not going to have the self-awareness to see it.
Yeah.
And I think a good little tip just to evaluate would be that typically those who, like the more success that you have, we tend to drift towards self-absorption. And we see examples of that even in scripture, where people started off really well, but then the more success that they had, they just started moving towards almost an entitlement. I think King David, unfortunately, is a good example of this. I mean, when we first see him, he's sacrificing himself in the fields, trying to protect his father's sheep. And then he carried that same mindset and that same attitude in shepherding God's people. But the more success he had, eventually in life, he's taking someone who's another man's wife, and then he's killing someone who's innocent. I mean, that's a self-absorbed, position to be in. I think his son Solomon is another good example. We've got a man who starts off his leadership, God saying, "Hey, because of your great faithfulness and worship to me, you name it, you can have it." And he asks very unselfishly, "I want."
I want wisdom, yeah.
And why does he want wisdom? Not for his own ego, but so that he can lead God's people well. Yeah. And so where do we
give him wisdom and everything else?
And where do we see him at the end? Once he has all these successes, it's I want more. So be careful. If you find yourself, I'm really successful and I'm gaining a reputation and the organization is going in this direction, everyone values me. Be careful, you might find yourself drifting towards being self-absorbed.
Yeah.
I, going all the way back to my very first ministry experience, I found myself not only being a little self-absorbed, but also I had a really great pastor who, very competent, felt really comfortable with him, leading me. Every once in a while, he found himself being a little self-absorbed. And so I'm in college, I've got this ministry position, and I'm in a staff meeting, And I'm in college. I'm not getting paid hardly anything. It's just, internship type salary, but I'm putting in a lot of hours like interns do. And so I'm in a staff meeting and there's about four of us, and he lays out this project and time document, like time spent document. And it was just really detailed about, okay, here are your projects and how much time you're spending on it. And for me, it was like, I don't really have the margin every single day to put this level of detail into all the things that you want me to. And so at the end, when he said, okay, you guys on board for this? I should have said yes. Instead, I said, we'll see. Which wasn't the right thing to say. I think my heart, I could be wrong, it's been a few years, but I think my heart was, we'll see if I can actually put in that level of detail. Because it's just a lot. Now he heard it as insubordination, and looking back at it, I can see that now. And so I have a meeting after the meeting. It's okay, now I'm in your office because of what happened in the meeting. And, he's telling me, he uses this line, I'm the captain of this ship and you need to get in line. And I just saw that. I was like, what kind of self-absorbed, like, you don't realize all the stuff I got going on. You want me to do this busy work? This is ridiculous. So then I'm being self-absorbed and I'm being resentful. And so, he's a pastor and he said, I'm the captain of the ship and you got to fall in line. So I very, in a self-absorbed way, said, actually, I think Jesus is actually the captain of our ship and we should get in line with him. Which again, like, who does that? Who does that unless they want an argument? And so he gets angry and he says, I'm the captain of this ship. And it was just one of those ugly moments. And what ends up happening is when you lead from a position of being self-absorbed, you're going to create resentful followers. And I found myself resenting where he was at. I'm curious, in your own life, have you ever found yourself becoming a resentful follower because of a self-absorbed leader?
So this goes back to what I said before. I've had some good leaders in my life. But I think where I've seen this the most is in people who aren't leading me, but in like those who rise to fame, right? And you said that, like, fame and like quick success can cause this to happen. But time and time again, like throughout my life, I've seen music careers of people that I really respect and enjoy, like, destroy their lives because people around them don't like them, people around them don't want to work with them, or they have a blow up moment talking to somebody because how dare you speak to me that way, like just that mindset. Or pastors that go on the rise really, really quickly just start to have this, because naturally when you get popular, you also have a rise of haters. And if you're not, I think self-absorption can go hand in hand with our first one, which is like being insecure. If you're not careful, all you'll do is listen to those haters, which will then put a chip on your shoulder. And in order to compensate, some leaders will have this thought process of, well, anyone who's talking to me negatively is just jealous. And it's like, don't just think that way, because like you might have really well-meaning followers and people close to you that start to share like, hey, this is too much too fast, or hey, I just need to be honest with you, like the way you're talking is not in line with scripture. And if you aren't humble enough to hear that, like some leaders will just take that and be like, I'm done with you anyway. And this is just, I've heard this before, from the type of people who go and scream at you on the sidewalk, which Campbellsville, where I went, weirdly enough, had a ton of those, like pastors that were coming and just telling everybody that they were going to hell and like all this stuff. And it's like, I'm going to Bible school to be a pastor. Like,
and my name's Josh. We haven't met before, but I guess I'm going to.
But like anyone who told them they were wrong, they were filming and saying, this is persecution, like, leave me, you're not. And it's just like, you are so self-absorbed that you think anything you say is God's truth and anything against you is the devil. And it's like, it makes me resentful towards any of those people, right? Like, it's just like, can you see it for what it is? Like, I don't know. And I don't know. I'm thankful that I've had those examples of bad, but then good examples of people who have said, like, anytime you're seeing success, just make sure you're pointing it right back to God. David Platt, one of my favorite sermons I've ever heard by him, said that there was one moment when he was in the middle of Africa, like sharing the gospel with people who had never heard it before. He said he had this thought as he watched the sun go down on a hard day of ministry. He said he thought, man, God is really lucky to have me on his team.
Oh man.
And he said, I felt conviction as soon as I had that
Yeah.
thought. And he said, it was like as if God was just like humbling me from that point
man.
forward. And I spent the night like just praying to God to forgive me for ever thinking that he needed me. Right. Like, and I was like, I love that. Like, and so anytime I've ever thought, ever, man, God's lucky that I'm doing this for him. I've been like, oh wait, no. I can't. David Platt showed me like, don't ever have that thought. He's like, he quoted the scripture right after. He's like, if men don't praise God, God can make the rocks cry out. And so it's like you're no much better. You're no better than a rock. God's just choosing to use you, and you're lucky to be on God's team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, shoot, like I need to get back into that mindset.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's what a centered leader would do, actually. Yeah. And so we want you to do a little bit of evaluation having to do with the uncentered leader. The goal we'll circle back and we'll talk about the qualities of a centered leader. Just remember, if you're leading in a position of being uncentered, it's going to lead to unsettled followers.
Yeah.
And I know we don't want to be in those positions, and we certainly don't want to lead other people in those positions too. So until next time, don't forget that life is so much better with God, community, and purpose.